Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing the astrology report for the solar eclipse in Leo on the 11th of August at 9:57 AM Universal Time, which translates as 10:57 here in the UK because the clocks are forward for the summer months. And I'll be outlining some of the key themes and aspects to the solar eclipse to give people an idea of what's going to entail for us. Before I do that though, I just want to clarify that the astrology doesn't control us. It merely gives us a context for what the energies around us are doing, what kind of lessons are there to be learnt, and how we can embrace the different lessons, or embrace the natural unfolding of consciousness, and follow those natural growth cycles to empower ourselves and become strong as individuals. Now, with the solar eclipse happening in Leo, this eclipse is the last one of the season, so it'll be closing the eclipse window and the window of transformation. And what it asks us is, how well do we embody the positive Leo qualities like emotional warmth, radiating love and kindness towards other people, radiating grace, if you like, and being overall embracing an attitude of play, generosity, mercy, and goodwill towards one another. And it asks, if we've already learnt these lessons, how can we serve as an embodiment of them so that other people can learn from our example? If we struggle with these areas though, what lessons do we need to learn, and how do we need to grow over the next 6-month cycle before the next eclipse season? So with the North Node in Leo, some of the areas we're looking at is learning to embrace play, so embrace that child within us. It's learning to connect with our creative potential and turn the spark of creativity into a fire, if you like, through the nurturing of it. And from there, it's about how do we shine for the people and help to nurture other people's creative talent through encouraging them to shine in their own way. So it's not trying to encourage them to be like us, it's about encouraging them to be the best version of themselves. So how can they learn to tap into their own creative potential? But another key area that this particular eclipse highlights is our ability to give and receive love. Because we can't really give love if we don't know how to receive it, or we don't see ourselves as worthy of love. So if we're someone who struggles to receive love, we may find this being highlighted to us in a major way at this point in time. Because if we struggle to see ourselves as worthy of love, when someone does give us that unconditional love, it's more likely to provoke an almost fear response. As weird as it sounds, if we don't believe ourselves as being worthy of love, then no matter how much someone tries to love us, we'll end up rejecting it. So we need to be honest with ourselves now. Are we actually able to receive love for the people, or do we instantly feel afraid or suspicious when someone's offering love and kindness, especially if we're used to having to kind of hustle or for worth, or having to try and manipulate others, or if we're used to being controlling and jealous, and someone suddenly showing us another way of showing love. Is because jealousy is obviously rooted in fear, and it is a shadow side of Leo. So one thing we need to be mindful of is when someone else has got the courage, or demonstrating the courage to pursue their dreams, or to become the best version of themselves, and to try and shine their own light brighter, do we feel glad for them, or do we feel jealous or afraid and try to do everything in our power to try and keep that person down, or to stop them from taking those risks? Because Leo is about having the courage to take that risk, to try something we haven't done before, and just embrace the creativity of it, and learn not really to worry about the end result. It's more about the creative process itself. But if we're someone who struggles with creativity and struggles to receive love, then we may be more inclined to kind of criticise or demean other people who are having the courage to just be themselves. Because let's face it, we're living in a time where everyone's being encouraged to be fake. There's so much pressure to look or act a certain way in order to fit in, to the extent that when someone does just dare to be who themselves, it's almost like a revolutionary act that intimidates people, and it shouldn't be that way. But again, it's just something that's happened over through all the conditioning influences that so many of us have faced, there's a responsibility of each and every one of us to go within our own subconscious, to let any fears about creativity or fear of vulnerability that comes from opening ourselves up to other people loving us and risking getting hurt. It's facing that fear of do we fear being hurt by another person by opening ourselves up and being vulnerable, or do we see ourselves as inherently worthy of love? And if someone does reject us for whatever reason, because fear of rejection is a major one that we may encounter in Leo, so we need to ask ourselves, how much do we let the fear of rejection control our self-expression? How much do we allow fear of how other people to perceive us to mean that we end up just acting cool and aloof rather than daring to be honest and open with how we're really feeling about things? Now, this particular eclipse has got a lot of aspects to it. So we have aspects from Juno, Ceres, Jupiter, Pluto and Neptune, all of them kind of creating the more difficult aspects, but these aspects also serve to push us to grow. Squares and inconjuncts provide that necessary tension that motivates us to change things. So we have, because these planets are all interlinked in their own way, because 2 days before the eclipse we have a grand sextile which is forming a square in inconjunct to the Sun, Mercury and Pallas Athena. So this kind of grand sextile gives us an opportunity 2 days ahead of the eclipse to kind of download high levels of consciousness and to incorporate into our being and release some of the lower level consciousness, so some of the fears. So these aspects will still be in play when the moon moves out of Cancer and conjunct the Sun for the eclipse. So with Juno in Taurus, we're facing is that challenge of where do we fear or where do we experience the conflict between our own personal needs or our own sense of self-identity and the relationship needs with other people? Where do we need to learn how to find a happy medium between the two, so that it's that balance between the I and the we, the need for obviously being true to who we are, but at the same time that need for connection. So there's that balance between independence and connection going on. With the square, we're looking at where do we have a fear of maybe being swamped in a relationship, or where do we fear being abandoned or betrayed in a relationship, or not accepted for who we are. And this eclipse brings us an opportunity to kind of transform that through transforming the core nature of who we are by embracing love and incorporating love, generosity, kindness, mercy and benevolence into our character, and shining that into our relationships, so we give that to the people that we're in our close relationships with. Juno isn't purely about romantic relationships, it also deals with like very close friendships which are deeper than just an acquaintance. It also deals with relationships between like disciple and guru, if you like. Obviously that's not the most common kind of relationship. The other aspects we have are, like as I said, we have Ceres is in a semi-sextile. So this is about the need to nurture our own potential, nurture each of the skill sets. So it's about nurturing through developing competence and skill, and through developing these skills we can then channel our nurturing instincts through acts of service by developing the skills necessary to render a service in the first place. We have Jupiter and Scorpio square to the solar eclipse. This challenges us to face whatever shadow side or shadow issues that we haven't resolved already, to shine the light of awareness into our own unconscious mind and make the unconscious conscious, and accept our own shadow side, because by doing this we empower ourselves by transforming the shadow so that our power is no longer derived from fear where we're trying to control the environment. Instead we surrender to a higher power, we surrender our fears to the greater mysteries, and we surrender to the mysteries of life. We allow that phoenix transformation to occur, where the old self that's based in fear is burnt or turns to ashes to allow a new self with a greater degree of internal union to emerge from the ashes. We have Pluto over in Capricorn retrograde at this point. This is challenging us all to face our own shadow, to face where we have a tendency to pursue goals that are not in our highest interest, because we may have a power complex, or we may have a desire for power, but we see power as something external to us and about controlling. And instead it's learning to recognise that true power comes from personal integrity. It's by being true to who we are, so say what you mean and mean what you say. And it's about the external mask that we show, or the external front that everyone sees, is merely a reflection of our internal world. So we're being true to who we are. And this is forming an inconjunct along with Neptune. So Neptune and Pluto are forming a yod to the solar eclipse, which applies extra pressure to the sun and moon to transform our sense of identity, but also transform our subconscious mind where old emotional conditioning is kept. There's Pluto is like the base chakra. It's all the key survival fears, if you like, that keep us acting out of fear. And instead it's learning to have faith in abundance, have faith that whatever we need will be met. Whilst Neptune is like the crown chakra, it takes us inwards and upwards. This is about taking that inward journey of facing our own addictive tendencies, our own attachments, and allowing the dissolving energy of Neptune and Pisces to release any negative attachments, any addictive tendencies that sabotage our efforts to become better versions of who we are, or more authentic versions, and that keep us operating in escapism rather than taking ownership. So it's about dealing with the base and the base chakra to bring energy up, the crown chakra to bring energy down, and they meet in Leo in the heart. So when we learn to operate from our heart. By this, obviously the mind does all the things, but what I mean by this is that we open the heart chakra and learn to operate from a place of love rather than fear, where we share unconditional love and we allow the power of love to transform us. We release any love of power and we embrace the power of love instead. And through this we become true agents of change. We become truly empowered, because if we love ourselves, we then able to set healthy boundaries with other people. If we love ourselves, we can then love other people. If we love ourselves, we will no longer be controlled by our shadow. We can transform the shadow through that love and become empowered people whose presence can offer an opportunity for other people to go through that transformation, regeneration, and through being the best version of ourselves, through learning to give and receive love and give it back, we can move away from the dynamics of give and take, where it's constantly trying to manipulate for the same resources, and instead it's about giving and receiving. So we unlock the power of synergy, which empowers us and it empowers the people in our lives. And the more we embrace this transformation within ourselves, the more we work on ourselves, the more the people around us will naturally benefit. People don't necessarily... It's obviously important that we take other people's needs into account, but the extent that we can help other people is dependent on the extent that we empower ourselves in the first place. So we can only really help other people if we take that internal journey, we take that trip to release any fears that prevent us from freely receiving love and freely giving it, and it allows us to become our authentic self, to shine our light as best we can and become the best versions of ourselves. Because the more each person transforms the creative spark within into a flame, the more people doing that then come together, the flames merge, and the fire transformation can be released and allows each person to be transformed through renewing of the mind and the burning away of the old to allow the new to unfold. So this solar eclipse is a very powerful opportunity for us all, but again, it doesn't force anything upon us. We have to choose to embrace the process, otherwise nothing changes. But I hope that's a useful guide for this solar eclipse for you. I hope the solar eclipse brings you much empowerment, much self-revelation, much self-understanding, and I hope it brings a better understanding or better ability to receive love and to give it, so that we then achieve empowering dynamics in our relationships where each person becomes stronger over time as each person is freely giving love to empower the other person and freely receiving love from the other person, so it's mutual empowerment. And if we all make the effort to do this, then a rapid transformation can take place where we move out of fear and into love, and we learn to accept love whenever it's freely given to us rather than being afraid or suspicious of it. So may the solar eclipse in Leo bring you much empowerment and much growth, and I hope it brings you greater reserves of love, and I hope it allows you to shine, or encourages you to shine the best you can and be the best version of yourself, so you also serve in your own way as an inspiration for other people who want to make that change but may not necessarily know how to do it. If we're all doing this, we can empower one another and we can rapidly transform the consciousness of the world, so we move it towards love rather than keeping it bogged down in fear. So take care and may be very blessed by the solar eclipse.